So let's talk about your roof. It's really your home's first line of defense, right? But in some climates, man, it is in a constant battle with the elements. We're going to break down the brutal weather it's up against, and, more importantly, what actually makes a roofing system tough enough to win that fight. Let's dive in. I mean, it's a super frustrating question for any homeowner, right? You spend all this money on a new roof, you expect it to last for decades, but then problems start popping up way, way too soon. So what gives? Well, the answer usually isn't just bad luck. It's a full-on battle against environmental forces that are way more powerful than most of us even realize. Okay, get this. This is kind of wild. At high altitudes, the UV radiation can be a whole 25% stronger than it is at sea level. And that's not just, a little extra sun. It's a constant invisible assault that literally cooks the essential oils right out of your shingles. It makes them brittle and old way before their time. So to really get a handle on this, let's zoom in on a specific case study. Englewood, Colorado. The location there, well, it creates a perfect storm of really punishing conditions. It puts this unique and just relentless strain on the homes. So first up, let's talk about freeze-thaw cycles. Just imagine this. It's freezing in the morning, but by the afternoon, the sun's out and it's warmed up to, say, the 50s. And this isn't some rare thing. It can happen pretty much every day in the winter. Think about what that does. This crazy cycle of expansion and contraction forces your roofing materials to flex back and forth over and over again until they just crack. And those waterproof seals, they eventually just give up. And yeah, about that high-altitude sun, it is absolutely relentless. It's especially brutal in the south and west-facing parts of a roof, the parts that get blasted by the most intense afternoon sun. It just slowly bakes the life right out of the asphalt, stripping away all its flexibility and leaving it super vulnerable to any kind of damage. Then you've got hail. I mean, Colorado is famous for its hailstorms, and for good reason. Hail isn't just about little dents. It can actually fracture the fiberglass mat that's inside the shingle. This creates these bruises that you might not even be able to see from the ground, but each one is like a perfect little entry point for water to sneak its way in. And of course, we can't forget about the wind. During some of these storms, gusts can easily top 60 miles an hour. What happens is, the wind gets right under the edge of a shingle and creates this powerful upward lift. If those shingles aren't fastened down just right, especially along the edges and the ridges, they can get torn clean off, exposing everything underneath to the elements. Okay, so you've got these 4 major threats just pummeling your roof. The freeze-thaw cycles, the intense UV rays, the hail, the wind. But what does that damage actually look like when you're standing down on the ground? How can you tell if your roof is starting to lose the fight? Well, the good news here is that a failing roof almost always sends out some warning signs. You just have to know what you're looking for. So let's think of this next part as your personal field guide for spotting those early symptoms before they turn into a full-blown catastrophe. All right, first thing you can do, take a look in your gutters. You see all those little black asphalt granules? Yeah, that's literally the protective outer layer of your shingles washing away. Or maybe you look up and you see shingles that are curling up at the edges, or they look kind of buckled. That's a classic sign of moisture getting in and just plain old age. And listen, these are not just cosmetic flaws. This is your roof crying out for help. Okay, so this brings us to the solution, because to really fight back against this kind of weather, you can't just think about the shingles. You have to think about a complete, integrated system where every single piece works together. A really strong roof, well, it's so much more than just what you can see from the street. It's all about a system of layers, and each one has a super critical job. Right at the bottom, you've got the wood decking. That's the foundation. On top of that, you have the underlayment, which is a key water-resistant barrier. Then there's a special ice and water shield to protect the most vulnerable spots. You've got flashing to seal all the joints and vents, the shingles on top that act like armor, and finally ventilation. And ventilation is huge. It's not just about letting hot air out in the summer. It's about stopping moisture from building up in your attic, which can lead to rot and mold, and it's key to preventing those destructive ice dams from forming in the winter. Seriously, you take away any one of these layers and the whole system is basically compromised. Okay, now check out this comparison, because this really shows you why local building codes are so incredibly important. A standard job might just use 4 nails per shingle, but in a high wind area like Englewood, the code actually demands 6. It requires a specific ASTM-rated underlayment and that critical ice and water shield we just talked about. These aren't just, suggestions. They are the absolute minimum requirements, engineered specifically to help a roof survive this kind of weather. So, okay, knowing all of this, what should you actually expect when it's time to get a new roof? I know it can feel like this huge, totally intimidating project, but a truly professional process should be clear, it should be straightforward, and it should keep you in the loop every single step of the way.
It really just breaks down into three key phases. Phase one, a super thorough inspection with pictures so you can see exactly what they're seeing. Phase two, the actual installation itself. This is where they protect your property, handle all the permits, and give you updates. And finally, phase three, a final walkthrough and a meticulous cleanup. They make sure you're happy and that your warranty is properly registered. See? It should feel like a partnership, not some confusing puzzle.
All right, let's start to wrap this up by coming back to the main idea here. Because we're not just talking about shingles and nails, are we? What we're really talking about is the active, day in, day out protection of what is probably your single biggest financial investment, your home. So here's the bottom line. A modern roof isn't just a covering. It's an engineered system of components, all designed to work together. And when it's installed the right way, following the specific codes for your local climate, it's not just covering your house. It is actively defending it from pretty much everything nature can throw its way. And that really leaves us with one final and I think critical question. The next time you pull into your driveway and look up at your house, I want you to ask yourself, is my roof just covering my home or is it truly defending it? Because understanding that difference, well, that's the real key to keeping your home and your family safe for years to come.